Hi everyone, welcome to the Blockchain for Business community tonight. So I'm gonna do the presentations and we are gonna start the event of tonight. So blockchain technology has reached a critical inflection point this year, and all the speculation drove increasing the public and the tokens and the awareness in 2017 has been rapidly being replaced this year by pragmatic applications of blockchain technology for real use in companies. My name is Veronica Torres. I'm one of the co-administrators of this community, and today we'll look at the state of corporate adoption with several speakers in our panel. We'll see existing use cases and challenges that remain for this developing technology. Before starting with the speakers and guests, I want to welcome Alberto Fernandez, who is also the other co-administrator of the community, and I want him to introduce the group. Alberto, please.
Thank you, Veronica. Well, it's been more than 1 year since we started this community, Blockchain for Business. And the first time we were overwhelmed with the reaction when we created the first event. The Madrid community was eager to find space to listen and share their experience in the blockchain field. So this is the third event. The first one was an introduction to blockchain. The second one was for explaining smart contracts and its application to blockchain business. And we are very happy that now, once the technology is more solid, now we will introduce real use cases. We want to move forward to real use cases and to real implementation of blockchain technology in companies. So the goal of this community is to create an ecosystem of companies, of individuals, where everybody can help each other. It can be either sharing experience or thanks to the networking where providers can collide with companies. So we are very happy to have an international event today. The timing was really good as an ITU meeting for the DLT, the Distributed Ledger Standardization, was celebrating in Madrid city center. Ismael, Arribas, and Suzana and will explain the work they are doing in order to bring use case standardization to this technology, which we think it is really necessary. We have also Lior Yaffe, core developer of the Next and the Ardor blockchain, who will explain the advanced cryptography and its usage in the blockchain world, how we can create some tools that are easier to be adopted for end users. Regarding the companies that are going to present their blockchain use cases, I'm pleased that we have Pablo Ruiz from Liberbank, Ana López-Mancisidor, Alberto Fernandez from IBM. We have also Rafael López, where is he? From the ISDI Business School, and Daniel Díez from UST Global. So this blockchain for business group is an open group. We want to promote the technology as much as we can. And why not? We would like to make Madrid hub of the blockchain technology. So thanks everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed this event as much as we enjoyed preparing it. And after the event, there is a beer waiting for you. So please come to say hello, okay? We can do some networking. Thank you very much.
Okay, so standardization is the process of implementing and developing technical standards based on the consensus of different parties. And this is what Ismael, Arribas, and Suzana Maranhão from the I2, the International Telecommunication Union Focus Group, are going to present us now. Thank you for coming. Can you come here?
Thank you for inviting me.
This? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for inviting me. First of all, I want to say a few words about who am I. I'm a global entrepreneur. I launched Security Mercantile Agency in 2006, and in 2011 I intrigued with the blockchain technology. In 2016 I already intrigued with Ethereum Classic, and I launched my own API, and I pursue the veracity of the content that you write on the blockchains. And all these standardization bodies, I also belong and represent my country, your country, some of them, but the best of them is ITU. We have a very good spirit. We really receive a lot of liaisons to contribute with the rest of the international standardization bodies. One of them is ISO TC307. There is a joint technical committee, that's why GT. It's for cybersecurity, who join us in the blockchain and distributed ledger technologies. And Sensenelec is under the umbrella of the European Commission. There were a focus group for blockchain and distributed ledger applications. There is just a published white paper, but I can say to you that is launching a mirror committee from the ICTC 307. It's also under liaison of ITU. And ETSI is the European Telecommunication Standard Institute, and a couple of months ago launched the ISG just for permission distributed layers, and it's under liaison. I suppose that all of you know which is W3C, so I will not mention nothing else. But the rest, do you recognize both of them? No, okay. This is standard essential patents. It's really an initiative whereby some law receive a placet to utilize a patent and generate law. So the inventors are protected at any way, and the invention as well, and scalable as well, to help the regulators. And the other is open timestamps. This initiative is very keen for the tamper resistance, for the open transparency, and there are many initiatives over there that are really on production, like Stampery that born here in Madrid. And these are the 5 related standards under our focus group in ITU. One of them is for multimedia. There is a very boom opportunity in multimedia, not only fake news. There are many use cases that could be under the umbrella of media. You can be incentivized for your production if it is valuable for the rest of the community. There are other, that is the security, which is very similar to the cybersecurity joint working group that I mentioned before with ISO TC307. There are other about IoT, smart cities and smart communities. As you know, there is a very interesting sustainable development goals that impulse and give a lot of insights about the smart cities and smart communities. Also, we need to take care about what is the data processing and the data management, not only for devices in terms of software, also about hardwares that are connected with our softwares, and all our connectivity right now are in 5G. So it's a very important related group. The other is for digital currency, including digital fiat currency. As you can imagine, central banks need to pay attention to what we are doing in ITU. The rest is really for my colleague, which is our vice chair of the group, and it's a pleasure for me giving the floor to her.
Brazil. I work for the government there. I work for the development bank, the National Development Bank of Brazil, and we started using blockchain to increase the transparency of our operations. So we have some projects to using the technology to show the society how we are using the public money. And I also have the honor to be the vice chair of the group. Our chair is Wei Kai, is just here from China. We have a couple of Martins like you, and we have also a lot of experts here. Our group is one of the groups, as Ismael said, we have ITU has some groups that are discussing different technologies. This specific one is open to anyone, so since you are discussing DLT, you may be interested in joining us. Our main goals are describe applications and services using DLT and analyze what are the use cases using the technology, to draw up best practice and guidance using which support the implementation of the technology, especially in a large scale, and to draft a way forward to a future groups that aims to create standards to the technology. So this is not a group for standardization yet, it's only a focus group to study and start to think about standard in the future. There were six meetings. The last one will be in Geneva in the end of July, and we will decide how the effort will continue. So until now, our mail list has more than 350 subscribers from more than 55 countries. We are very diverse in terms of country, but also in terms of who we are. We are part of the government, research institutes, companies, SDOs, university, and so we can artists, so we can learn a lot from each other. And our group is divided in 5 subgroups. The first one is to discuss concepts and taxonomies. The second one is to discuss use case. That's the more related to what we are talking today. The third one is related to mapping, technology, assessment. Our leader is Victor, that must be here. The fourth one is policy reference framework. That's our leader is Alex. Is here in Madrid. And the fifth one we start in our next meeting. That's exactly the standardization roadmap. So our last meeting we will dedicate to define what will be the next actions in order to really create standards to the community. I'm the leader of the working group 2, and this is since we are discussing about use case, this is a short summary of what we are doing. So in this group, our goal is to collect use cases from the community. And since you are here and you represent lots of use cases, you may be interested in contributing with us. Why we are collecting use cases? First, we need to learn by them. So we discuss them, and we collect information. We have a template, and in the template you can describe why you are using DLT, why it helps your business, what are the barriers that you are facing, what are the risks that you are facing. So we collect all this information, and we are creating like a master document that reference all the use cases, but also extract information that are our conclusions using the use case. So the working group to collect the use case, showcase what are the value added, discuss what are any implications or requirements for standards. So in our template we ask the developers, the entrepreneurs, how a standardization can help to develop their business. And also as ITU is part of United Nations, we are also concerned about the SDGs and the Sustainable Development Goals. So we also make a link between the use case and how they help to achieve the attainment of the SDG. So here I'm finished with the template. In reality, this is a call that we did to submit a new use case in the past. And so you can read a bit about what we are doing, and we can access the template here. So please, everyone, invite everyone to join our group and also to submit use case. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzana. Thank you, Ismael. Thanks for coming and presenting this today. So, cryptography is at the core of blockchain technology, and a lot of time has passed since the origins of this science in the early 90s by scientists and engineers that had a special concern about privacy and liberty. What is the value of cryptography applied to business today after almost like 30 years? So to answer this question, we have today here Lior Yaffe, coming from Israel. Lior Yaffe is a blockchain entrepreneur and engineer, and is co-founder and managing director of Jelurida, the developing company of one of the very interesting blockchains, Ardor and ISDI. Lior Yaffe, and welcome.
Okay, yeah. All right, so, okay, so thanks to Veronica for the introduction. In the next 590 seconds, I will talk about cryptography. Gonna be a bit boring, maybe check your WhatsApp now or no, I'm just joking. You see sometimes in conferences, like everybody sits. All right. So what is the main problems that we are trying to solve with the blockchain? So we already have a blockchain that can store encrypted data, and the blockchain can also validate transactions. But what the blockchain cannot do is validate encrypted transaction data. Like, for example, if the transaction amount is encrypted, not all nodes can actually check that you did not go to sub-zero bounds. So this is a problem that we can use. We can now use more advanced cryptographic tools like zero-knowledge proofs, fully homomorphic encryption, and multiparty computation to try to provide solutions that will allow us to eat the cake and leave it intact. So I will try to really briefly go over this very complex technology and just try to give you a taste of what each of them means. So let's start with zero-knowledge proof. So let's see how we can we prove an argument without revealing what this argument is? Sounds absurd, right? Yes, so for example, what could be the applications of something like this? So today you look at the blockchains with a block explorer and you see that this address to this address, this amount. But if, for example, you look at Zcash, all the transaction data is just a big blob of data and you can't see anything unless you have your own wallet, and in your own wallet you can see your own transactions and your own balances. So this is a type of applications that zero-knowledge proof can enable. Let me try to give you, really touch quickly an example. Let's say that we have these jigsaw puzzles that we used to, when we had times before the smartphones, we used to assemble. So let's say that me and my friend are enthusiasts of puzzles, and I want to prove my friend that I assembled this 1,000 pieces puzzle, but without actually showing him the puzzle, because maybe he will take it and then publish that he's the one that published it. So what we do in advance, we number all the pieces, all right? And then I assemble the puzzle, but I don't show it. I do not show him the puzzle. Instead, I ask him to give me a random piece number, like 255, all right? If he gave me 255, I need to photo puzzle piece number 255. You can see it's assembled, so I can prove him that I was able to assemble this piece, but without revealing him anything about where this piece is actually in the puzzle. Assuming this edges does not leak any information, let's assume it for now. So if I did it once, then there are two options. Either I'm lucky and I got this piece assembled, or I have the whole puzzle assembled, all right? But notice that he didn't learn anything except that I actually assembled this puzzle piece. So now we can do it again. He randomly selects another one, and I again photo it. Now the chance that I will hit it twice is 1 in 4, all right? So let's do it 128 times. Now the chance that I will be able to photo 128 pieces like this is 2 powered by 128, which is practically impossible, which means if I'm able to do it, I must have the whole thing assembled, all right? But we can take it further. First of all, we are not limited to 1,000 pieces. We can have now a puzzle in the form of some computer program or computer challenge that is the size of 2 powered by 256 instead of 1,000 pieces, and this method will still work and give you the same security. But of course, photoing 120 times is not a very practical thing, but we can, in advance, devise an algorithm that will say that if we started with piece 255, what will be the next one? And then he give me a random piece, and I will immediately send 128 pictures proving that I have the puzzle, or I don't have the puzzle, and then I won't be able to give it. So this is the way to prove something, to prove that I have completed the puzzle without actually revealing how the puzzle looks. And you'll see zero knowledge proofs appear in all kinds of setups like this. Okay, and the next one I want to talk about is called fully homomorphic encryption, which is another amazing technology. Usually, when we make calculation on encrypted data, the first thing that we do, we decrypt the data, calculate, maybe encrypt it again, post it. But then, you know, if we now need to give sensitive data to a cloud provider, we need to reveal the data to the cloud provider, privacy issue, and so on. Can we do calculation on encrypted data without decrypting it first? So let me try to give you an example how things like this can work. By the way, this is my dog and my cat. I'm happily married almost 20 years, but imagine that I'm on a dating site looking for a mate. Okay, let's say Alice. Alice and Bob are on a dating site, and Alice, they're chatting, there are checkboxes. Alice says, checks, I love dogs, okay? But Bob checks, I don't like dogs. So Alice cannot choose Bob as a mate because she loves dogs so much. But notice that in the process, even though nothing got out of this, Alice revealed personal information that she loves dogs, okay? And you can imagine what other private information this could be. So can we do this and only reveal this info, and only say if both of them love dogs, so that if both of them do not love dogs, any one of them do not know if the other loves dogs or not, right? So what Alice does is, instead of revealing that she loves dogs, she encrypts the statement, I love dogs. Bob, on the other hand, encrypts the message, I don't love dogs, all right? This is encrypted information, but with fully homomorphic encryption, we can actually do an end condition on the encrypted data, okay? Then we can decrypt the combined statement. Okay, if we got a 1, if both of them love dogs, great, there is a match, we can continue. But if one of them does not love dogs, for example, if you look from Alice's perspective, then assuming Bob did not love the dog, given the result 0 from the combined information, he cannot tell if Alice likes dogs or not. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse you too much, all right? So basically, because we only worked on encrypted data, we did not reveal any information because in case a match did not happen, all right? So this is So this is another promising technology that has its own limitations at the moment, but in the future it can enable a lot of new applications with private data that you don't need to expose. Okay, now I think the most important out of this is what is called multi-party computation, which is generally built on top of zero-knowledge proof and fully homomorphic encryption. Can we now work together? Can we separate a problem, a computer problem, to multiple workstations that each one works on its own data, but nobody of each of these workstations only works on its own private data and never reveal what this data is. We only learn what is the combined solutions once everybody is done, right? So really, a really dumb example. Let's say that we are sitting in the room and we want to know what's the average salary of everybody in the room, but nobody wants to tell what his salary is. So we start with Alberto. Okay, Alberto knows what his salary is. Okay. Now he adds to this a large random number, all right? And then he whispers it in Daniel's ear, okay? Daniel knows what his salary is, but he didn't learn what Alberto's salary is because he doesn't know what these random numbers that Alberto added. So Daniel adds his salary, tell it to Skylar, all right? So Skylar, again, doesn't learn anything, but he knows the salary, he adds it, and we finish here. Then we give the n number, which could be just a number, we give it to Alberto. Alberto now reduces the random numbers that he added in the beginning and divide it by the number of participants. And he got the average salary that he will tell everybody without everybody else learning anything about the salary of anyone else. Okay? So this is very simplistic because, of course, Skylar and Daniel can collude, okay, and things like that. But there are many models for multi-party computations where if all participants are honest, it can also work against some malicious participants that either do not follow the protocol or actually try to sabotage the protocol. There are all kinds of levels of multi-party. A good example from the blockchain world is again with Zcash. With Zcash, in order to kick off the blockchain, the zero-knowledge proof, they had to do a process that generates some private data that must be destroyed, okay? So the way they did it, of course, each one went and bought a new laptop. There were six people, each one bought his own laptop, and then each of them had to prove that they did all the calculations together, which set up data for the blockchain, all right? Now, each of them was supposed to destroy the data. As long as at least one of these 6 actually destroyed his laptop after creating the data, then nobody will be able to recover this setup data for the blockchain. Right? So this is an example for real use case of multi-party computation to compute the setup data for Zcash zero knowledge proof. All right, so I hope I gave you some sense of what these things mean. Thank you.
We are going to present use cases, so welcome to our guest, Ana López, López-Mancisidor from IBM, Pablo Ruiz from Liberbank, Daniel Díez from UST Global, Rafael López from ISDI Business School, Lior Yaffe from Jelurida, and Skylar Hurwitz from Demetrius Consulting.
Thank you to all of you. My name is Ana López. This is my background and experience. I'm currently working as a blockchain and cloud architect at IBM, covering Spain, Portugal, Greece, and Israel. I've been working in IBM since 15 years ago, a lot of time. And I've been going through different positions, and since 1.5 years ago, I've been focusing on blockchains, and my activities, my day-to-day job is related with blockchain, but I work with customers, helping them to know, to understand the technology, when to apply blockchain or not to a use case. I'm focused on the technology, although blockchain is very related with the business, with the use case that the customers want to implement. I also have to work with the IBM ecosystem business partner. In fact, I know some of you from other events. And as blockchains is something that many people want to know about, we are also participating in events like this one, in webinars, and also we have internal trainings in IBM. So regarding use cases, when we were talking about different use cases, or the best use case to present in this event, we were thinking about the different projects IBM is working with clients. We have customers that have created their own networks based on the focus of IBM is on private networks between companies. So we are focusing, many of you know or have heard about Hyperledger, that is the open source technology IBM is promoting. And as part of the work we are doing with customers, we are also in for some specific use cases or vertical solutions that can be reused by a set of customers. We have created a standard software solutions based on blockchain technology. And maybe you know Food Trust or the worldwide payments that was announced last year, but today I want to focus on this one that is called TradeLens. I don't know if any of you know about TradeLens.
Yes.
TradeLens is an alliance we have with Miles. We have been working since 3 years ago. It has been a long project. For those of you that don't know, Miles is the largest segment operator of containers. They are the leaders in the market since many years ago. And why we have selected this use case? Because the impact in the market is huge. There are many numbers about, for example, more than 16 trillion in goods are shipped through containers. So the impact of improvement the supply chains of containers is going to be a big impact in the market. There are some, I don't know if you see the numbers, but for example, we were analyzing, I have some information information about the issues and the benefits we expect to get with this use case. And we expect just improving the current efficiencies of the process. We could improve productivity of these, the numbers have to be in 50%, and 15% of 16 trillion is a lot of money. So just to, I will go quickly. The main issues we are trying to solve with Miles in this use case is to improve the inefficiencies in the process. We were working in different pilots, and we were analyzing the time spent. For example, an agent in the port had to answer at least 5 times the same questions from different people. Also, a big issue is related with the documentation, because the actual process, the process that is being improved is manual, and there are more than 200 for each shipment. There are more than 3 different document types that have to be shared between the ports, the oceans, the customs, the end users that want to know where the container is and when it's going to arrive. And the analysis we did is that the cost of the physical shipment for the container was less than the business process to manage all the documentation and to the delays between the different participants in the network. So there were many issues and many opportunities to improve the process. The blockchain solution, if you go to tradelens.com, you will have a lot of information about the technology, the architecture. Also, you have the APIs that have been already open to interact with the network. But the network is based on blockchain. This is why we are presenting this use case today. And it's based on, as I said before, the focus of IBM is on hyperlayer technology. It's a private network. And here you have a brief overview of the components for the hyperlayer platform. We have different nodes in hyperlayer. There are different node types, the peers, the orderings, and there is also one of the reasons we decided, or Miles and IBM joined together and used hyperlayer technology was because the privacy we can create in the hyperlayer public network with this technology. Because there is a lot of information, documentation that cannot be shared with everyone. So there have been a lot of features that have to be implemented to have specific channels and confidentiality between the different participants in the networks. So, for example, each node will include the blockchain components, but also, let's say, a document store to have access to the documents that are shared between the participants.
5 minutes.
Okay. So we have a lot of issues, a lot of things to improve. I think I will go for this one before, and later I will talk about the benefits. The journey has been, it has not been easy, because we have been working, we started this pilot, the first pilot between Miles and IBM in 2.5 years ago. We did an initial pilot between 2 ports. Then, instead of having a big launch, a big production network to all the participants, we decided to go first with with the main participants in the network to have the feedback and to be able to implement the most important use cases. And at the end, in September, December, we officially launched the network and opened the network to different participants, not just to a small set of ports and oceans carriers. In February, if you go, this is you don't see the last number. If you go to the website, there is a number that is moving every second. You have new numbers, and each day you have more than 1.5 million of events that are managed by the blockchain network. And I took that screenshot 2 days ago, and this is the number of events that have already been captured by the network.
It's 428,418,025.
So it has a long tree, but I think that with this initial version of the network, we have already been able to start to see the benefits of the solutions. We have been able, instead of having point-to-point interactions between all the participants, we have identified the documents and the interconnections we have in between the ecosystems. That the ecosystem is very large because we have traders, we have ports, we have terminals, we have here Renfe, many participants, organizations that are part of this network. It's just not miles of the operators or the ports. There are many organizations that are involved in the network, so they have real-time visibility and finishing. All the information all the participants have access to the information in real time. There is a web, but also we have APIs that you can subscribe to get information about events. Collaboration and trust. We have been able to optimize the process. And also, it's based on open source, so this is just the first step and the first version. And the network is open to have new members, to improve the functionality, and also not just focusing in Spain on a country, something that covers different countries. It's a worldwide network covering all the continent.
Thank you, Ana.
Well, thanks very much for the opportunity to be here today for the organization. My name is Pablo Ruiz. I've been more than 20 years now working in financial services. I work for companies like JP Chase in London, Banco Santander, and now Liberbank. For those that you don't know, Liberbank is a mid-sized bank here in Spain. So we are a national bank. We are right now around 8 in the rank. Okay, and we started a process of digital transformation 3 years ago. I'm the head of digital innovation, and blockchain is obviously in our agenda, and we're trying to position ourselves in blockchain for developing use cases that can foster innovation within financial services here, and provide us with new opportunities, new business opportunities. We are also developing open banking initiatives as a new platform that we have developed. We are also looking at open collaboration with fintechs, but with other players, especially around banking. We believe blockchain enables us with the possibilities to collaborate in a much more consortium way. So this is where new opportunities can arise, and I think this is something that we're trying hard to explore. So The use case that we started in 2016, we set up a lab, blockchain lab, and we started to look at how we could collaborate in different consortiums around Spain. We formed the first financial services consortium called Neuron, with Ceca Bank and 6 other banks, jointly with banks like CaixaBank, Bankia, Abanca, Cuchabank, Ibercaja, ourselves, Unicaja. And we believe that banks, we have responsibility with our clients to build a digital trust and building security around this trusting relationship within the digital new space can position ourselves in a way where we can provide our clients with new services using this digital trust. So this is an area that we started to explore. And well, I think the evolution of how blockchain right now, looking at what you presented, is moving into more like marketplaces and providing new services over new blockchains. So being part of those blockchains and enable our clients to provide new services with a digital identity is something that we think makes a lot of sense. So this was the main reason that we started to develop this specific use case. So what we are trying to resolve basically is the ability for our customers to, in a digital onboarding, when a new customer wants to become a member of a bank, has to go through a hurdle and a complex onboarding process. So using blockchain technology can help in that specific process. So for example, when you onboard with Liberbank, you need to provide your identity card, you need to basically go through a digital onboarding. Now we have managed to do this all online, and it takes around 7 minutes, where you identify yourself with the use of technology like video with your mobile phone. So we have automated this whole process right now. So new clients can in 6-7 minutes have an account with Liberbank, and effectively we thought, okay, we can use this process also with blockchain technology to be able to also onboard on other banks at the same time, and also to start working on knowing our customers in a way that with this digital identity is easier for our clients to be able to go through this process in other entities, no? And start sharing some of the specific data of our clients. So this is what we put in place in this consortium, and
5 minutes.
okay. And first thing we did was creating the digital identity of a client in a blockchain specific network that we built. Then we started to prove how to share the identity, no? in blockchain and in this onboarding process. And the third thing was to add new attributes to this digital identity with using smart contracts. No? And we're quite proud of being able to form this consortium, because it's not easy always to form these consortiums, and also to have a use case that has really been delivered. No? And This is the timelines that when we started, no, back in 2017, and we now is fully operational, which is an achievement for us, at least. The second use case that we are now launching is within the Alastria consortium. So we continue to work in Neuron, and we are moving from personal clients to business clients, because the business clients, the process of onboarding is even more difficult. No? It takes longer. So here there is a big opportunity. And the second use case that we are launching next week, which I want to share with you, is with Alastria and Informatic and Corte Inglés, which is a technology company here in Spain. And what we're going to be is from the lessons learned in this financial service consortium, we move into Alastria, which is a multi-sector consortium with more than 400 businesses already in Alastria. And the idea is to start also developing this concept of digital identity within a multi-sector consortium. No? I think here there's going to be a lot of opportunities also to provide our clients and our customers of other services provided by other type of companies. And this is something that we wanted to share with you, because I mean this is an open open POC. The idea is to share it with the community within Alastria and find other businesses that want also to be participating in this consortium. Okay, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Yes, David, please.
So, hi everyone, I'm Daniel Díez. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. So, well, first of all, I want to be really briefly and not just focus on use cases, but also on the brief experience we can have from bringing these to real companies with real customers, right? So, I will just focus, for a little introduction of me. I've been working in this field for 2011, for quite some years. I've been doing almost everything I could have done in the space, so I got involved really easily, and I'm really a cruise guide, so I did many things. So, at first, I worked on the investment field, really. So I'm working with big corporations, doing research and creating analytical tools in order to make sense of cryptocurrencies for the bigger investors, really the regulated ones. They are still in 2012. And well, mainly what I'm doing nowadays is different things. Most of my time, what I'm doing is I'm the global director for UST Global on the blockchain field, which nowadays is not only blockchain, it's also a new emerging business models, because we cover many different technologies. Blockchain is usually discrete, I'll say. So I have a set of different teams that I leverage. Over 12 countries that I'm operating as right now. The company is operating more, but it's also the countries where I have currently customers. And we come, one of the main centers of excellence we have is right here in Spain. So one of the biggest investments we have done is here in this country. So that's something that I'm really, really proud of. So lately, at the side of my main work that I'm doing right now with UST, and mainly what I'm doing is advice also. Well, I have launched several businesses in the past, and the first ones using cryptocurrencies in Spain, in Europe, and due to that, I have advised several regulators and big banks, corporations, and so on. And most of the time, what I'm doing right now is I'm doing lots of research on the academic side, teaching in many different business schools, universities. The research is done almost in three main fields, which is banking, energy, and telecommunications. But telecommunications is really close to banking. So, I'm an angel investor right now, but I have now no investments yet in any crypto company, not also blockchain companies, just in fintechs right now. And I have a street where I'm doing right now into launching a venture builder. So what I'm trying to do is benefit from the market effects and the network effects that we have in open communities in order to bring that to the bigger corporations, in order to let them create community and to benefit with other work cultures, which is one of the main things that I find it difficult to work with right now with big corporations. So right now, what I'm going to explain is just with 3 slides. Is the main conclusions I have reached, focusing only for the Spanish market and my experiences reached by the Spanish customers that we have and that are nowadays in production. So I'm not going to talk what I'm doing in South America, in Asia, and so on. And I'm not going to talk about research or about the proof of concepts, just production. Because that's where I find the biggest struggles, right? So, one thing I read a lot of time ago, and I see that is still really actual, is the innovator's dilemma, right? This is from the 1995, so it has quite a lot of time for a Clayton business. And it's quite simple. Like, if most of the corporations I work with right now just focus on the short term. So they just want to build sustainable business, not a disruptive one. So most of the focus is just on cutting costs, right? Not even grow new business. So it's okay. I mean, it's easy to justify your New Year's bonus and so on, but it's really difficult if you want to stay competitive for the mid and especially long term. Because that's where things get difficult. And that's not a technological issue. And sometimes it's a silent issue, but we'll talk about soon about this. But for me, that's the way that the corporate culture still works is the main issue that why it's so difficult to escalate proof of concepts. So, for me, another big issue I'm finding right now is that most of the proof of concepts are not done on one side. They are not valuing how to create community and incentives for creating a community. Community is the source, the main source of how to get data that you're going to analyze and you're going to exploit in order to create a new business model, or just connect different people, companies that just solve your customer issues. And that's really important, I believe. Also, there is a common misunderstanding of how that new companies manage risk. Most of the companies still, most of the difficulties I found is, for example, with one of our main bank companies that we have built something to production. It was with a really big Spanish bank. It was the first one to bring a production system for payments. And we have many different issues. Most of all, the main one, it took us 7 months to build the platform based on Dribble. But can you guess how long it took us to integrate that with the traditional systems? 10 months. Just to do integration. So that's an animal for all of us. I want to do new things with traditional institutions, right? So there's a really big issue nowadays on dependent on really traditional back office of banks and insurance companies and all sorts of companies. Other issue is standards. And that's, I really felt that the work you're doing nowadays with the IGU, because I think that's something really valuable. One thing I see right now is that most of the business models that are launching right now are not launched from a global perspective. So they have not in account either how the technology is going to evolve in 3-5 years from now. So you should not take those bold decisions. In fact, you should open and go with as many different platforms as you can take, because it's too early. And also, if you need the standards in order to achieve interoperability, not only for payments, but also to exchange information. The main thing that I'm finding really big struggles right now, and there are incredible cool experiments such as Alasia as well, is how can you create bridges between private networks and public ones. Most of the effort I'm seeing right now is not focused on hybrid governance. It's either on public blockchains, private ones with a traditional board, or building connectors. But I believe there's many different things that we can do in that field, and most of them with secure multiparty computation. Creating ways of how to preserve the privacy of the people that are inside the network. Creating ways of delegating our reputation if we integrate someone we trust into the network and it attacks the network. but because that's going to happen. And also protecting the privacy and personal data of people that are inside the network are not corrupt. If I attack the network, my data is going to be released. So I have a counter incentive in order to don't attack the network. So most of the things, other things are the same. So the main use cases I've been working with is international payments and protection. Main issue, first, regulation. In Spain, Europe, we cannot use only bus accounts. So that's one of the main struggles, right? At the end of the day, you have to do a settlement. So it's a really difficult way if you want to integrate end-to-end systems nowadays, because you have to go all through all the traditional core banking. All the different things, because you cannot create only bus accounts, you cannot digitize money. Even the crypto assets don't even have a place in Spain if we talk about accountancy, because we cannot check or certify its provenance. That's a main issue. Most of the banks are trying to bring crypto services mostly for unbanked customers in South America. They cannot really operate with that here in Europe. Other topics I've been working with. The two main things, the second main project we are bringing now to production is with one main Spanish bank, which goal is to sell a really big amount of real estate properties that were summed up from many different public banks that were bankrupt, right? So what we are doing here is before I talk about sustainable business and disruptive. Okay? Disruptive goal is that it brings you exponential effects. The more time it goes, the more effective you are. The more you scale, right? But in the short term, it's difficult because you cannot prove that. You have to experiment. And that is yet against our culture of most of our companies. So in this use case, this traditional company is used to sell houses and build credits on top of that. So we have built a platform that is merely a way to it's a platform where you can emit sell credits that are collateralized with real estate. And it's not for a Spanish customer, and this is a Spanish institution, but it's for the Dubai market right now. And they are the ones that guarantee all the integrity of the information and all the assets that are digitalized. Because before there was a huge risk for all the investors, so they couldn't provide the needed liquidity. So we have just reached the production stage last week. So as soon as I get results on the business side, I will be really pleased to share. The next thing we are doing right now here with the Spanish corporations is on energy. So most of the things that have been done is how can you track, right, the provenance of the energy you spend. But we are trying to do something that is a bit different. And it has to do a lot with circular economy. So we have found a way where customers from the really big electric companies, in this case is the biggest electric company for Europe, it's one of our main customers. What we are doing is building a marketplace where you, as an energy company, can create specific campaigns to do social actions. In a way that you can certify also and benefit from the different things you invest as a company that you invest in this marketplace. So one example of that could be plastic trees. Or the one could be clean oceans from plastic. So this crowdfunding has social benefits. And what the benefits also to organization. And that is going to be presented in a few months from now in the South Summit in October, presented. Most of the things also are related to the issues that I find right now. It's most of the companies we see, if they are banks, they try to compete against banks. If they are energy companies, they are trying to compete against energy companies. At the end of the day, for what matters to me, or at least the things I learned, is how can you create community, create network effects. You don't even have to offer that product. How can you connect different things on top of data without not knowing data? Which is something I researched a lot related to zero-knowledge proofs multiparty computation, and so other main issue I'm seeing right now is we have a current lack of standards. For me, it's a really big mistake. Companies are not mostly using open source solutions. So almost everything we have done yet is open source. The payment solution is not open source. The other two ones are based on Hyper-Ledger Fabric. So we love it. We use Ethereum private solutions as well. We use also Correa solutions for other use cases in Brazil and other countries. It really depends on the matter. For me, I don't really care about the platform. I care about what I'm going to use in 5 to 7 years from now, and how can I adapt everything I'm doing, right? And that brings me to other main issue right now I see in this industry. And it's first, there is a strongly illiquid talent, market talent, where I'm seeing this big issue. And it's that first, it's so expensive to hire people that knows of this. Second, people know about this and then start to learn new things, like analytics, like regulation, like many different things. What I'm powering now, and most of the people, many people, unfortunately, and what I'm seeing a huge step forward right now, is that many people that came from many traditional businesses have a really depth knowledge of many different things, are not also getting involved in blockchain. So they now know our technology and know better than anyone of the markets. And that's seeing most of the things.
Daniel, out of time.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rafael, thanks.
Hi, I'm glad to be here with you. I'm going to present this use case. ISDI is an international business school for digital transformation, and we are delivering training in Madrid, Mexico, Barcelona, Paris, and online. We have a B2B and B2C customers. And what we are doing is that, okay, this is my short introduction. I will try to be very short. I'm a telecommunication engineer. I studied philosophy too. I've been working, and then I switched to marketing. I've been working some years, and then I quit marketing. And now I'm doing something like this. I don't know what my position is, but I'm kind of leading tech innovation. I don't know what innovation means, but it's cool. Information management, data process, Agile, it's quite trendy. I like it. And but I'm not alone with it. Here is Cesar, the CTO, and my team, Toma, Carla, and Sarah that couldn't join. Thank you very much. I'm glad to work and think with you. And thank you. So, this is our use case. Before that, I want to show you what the pain is. And we started last year, but the idea, Cesar and I was working on that. We were thinking about that 2 years ago, but we tend to procrastinate. And last year, there was a lot of news about fake degrees and that stuff. And politicians are very good at faking degrees and diplomas. So we had the moment has come. So it's time to do something about that because it's so difficult to trust people in terms of education. I can say I've been studying in Stanford, and are you gonna check that? It's so difficult to check that. So we think, this is so simple. We have a simple solution. Why don't we put the diplomas in blockchain? So nobody has done it before, the big universities. So we started with a prototype, and it worked. It was 1 month working on that, and it was so easy. So then we went for a more sophisticated solution, and now it works automatically and that stuff. But we thought that was not enough. So we've gone crazy with that. It's like, okay, first diplomas, and now everything. And now it's, okay, what's behind a diploma. If I were a recruiter or a headhunter, the diploma is not enough for me. I want to know, the track of the student, what he or she did, the attendance, how it is, the soft skills, the materials, everything, because the students are leaving a track and a trace when they are with us, online, on site, wherever. So we started thinking, why don't we start like a Black Mirror, keeping track of everything, generating a lot of data, right? And if we have so many data, why don't we start playing around with the data and generating badges, any type of credentials? Why don't we start, keeping track of everything so we can send a diploma and the proof and the test that behind that diploma was a person with us, right? So that's the main solution that we did, and I'm going back because I did it the other way around. But this is the information management. This is quite simple. We have students. They are generating data with their activity, and then we define rules. We define when we can give or send a badge for wherever, a badge for the best student, the most punctual student, the student which is more active in forums, wherever. Anything that you can do with that, and we can generate a badge based on criteria, based on rules. So we define an open solution. It's customizable. You can do everything. You can generate any rule with that. And when the criteria is met, then we send automatically a badge via email to the student. It's like, you got it, you have an email, you have a badge. And the idea is that the student can share in social media or badges, so they are kind of telling the world, I did it, I got it. So it's marketing itself, because there are many people, who can interact with the badge. So we have a verification website that we have generated, and anyone, if I'm a headhunter and I see a guy in LinkedIn who is saying, I have a badge from ISDI or a diploma or wherever, I can just click on it, and I will go to a public website we have created, and the website is validating against a blockchain that diploma or wherever is real. Okay? And so it's very friendly. The user experience is very easy. Okay, and I'm gonna be short. But apart from badges, we are generating a student passport, and in the end, when the degree is finished, they can deliver or they can share it with anyone. Okay, we are blockchain agnostic, so the solution can connect to any blockchain network. Private, public, Ethereum, wherever. Okay, so it's totally customizable because it doesn't make sense to be generating so many transactions to Ethereum. It's not cost effective. So we can also set up that thing. Let me go to the next one. This is a short description of the architecture. So we are generating data, get feedback, surveys. We have Canvas. This is the learning management system. We are transferring all data to Salesforce. It's our centralized database. And now we are sending the badges, electronic academic record, everything to the blockchain networks we select. And for that we have developed a new app within Salesforce to define rules engine, integration to blockchain, and to generate automatic notifications to our students. And this is what the student, so this is the diplomas work done last year. Right now we are launching this project this week. So we are testing that, and this is a real template of email that students will get. Congratulations, you got a new badge. You can share it in social media, you can go to the validation website. So you can check it, and this is the validation website, and it's that easy, so anyone can check the information and the validity. And as I told you, we did our diplomas version 1.0 last year, and right now we are generating credentials, as I told you, and the roadmap, the future of this, our final dream. We are working with Jelurida right now. We are going to generate the ISDI cryptocurrency, ISDI tokens, and we're going to mix everything together so you can get the badges and our tokens. So we're doing very interesting things with that. So we have, in short, we are generating a very advanced gamification platform for our students. And we are doing right now, and we hope by the end of this year we will have the final and the whole solution working. And it's really interesting for us. We are learning a lot. Thank you, and it was great to share with you.
Okay, Lior, you want to present yourself like very briefly, and then Skylar as well, and we will start with the questions for the panel.
So just a short reminder, I'm a blockchain developer and co-founder of Jelurida, developers of Ardor and UST blockchain.
I'm Skylar Hurwitz, and I work with Demetrius Consulting out of the United States, providing educational services to more mainstream, smaller scale businesses, kind of helping bridge that knowledge gap between them and these companies that are on the cutting edge of this new technology.
Okay, thank you. So we will have now like half an hour of questions. I just have prepared one question for every panelist. And then I want you to participate and make your own questions. So please be welcome to ask. So in the discussion, I will start with Ana. In this discussion panel, this is a discussion panel about blockchain adoption and about what challenges we are having. So I want to start asking you about the challenges that you have encountered in this long project of 3 years with IBM.
Yes, so the main issue was not related with technology. Technology was there. We had clear we needed a private network, and we used the technology that Hyperledger provided with the channels, the privacy. The main challenge was the process improvement. It was to understand the process, because the amount of participants was really high, and it was a worldwide network. So
what kind of participants?
Many times. We have oceans, we have miles, we have also we have customs, we have the government, we have railways, more than 100, and also it was the process was very inefficient, has a lot of inefficiencies, and also was very complex, and the amount of documents was really complex. And also the regulations, as customs in Spain are different from customs in other countries. So we had to talk, the team, instead of defining and analyzing the assist process, has to talk with a lot of government entities, with a lot of participants. So this was the big challenge. But without that information, the network will not have the value it's having today, because shipment is not just focused on one country. When you ship a container, it's usually between different countries or continents. So this is why we prefer to spend more time analyzing and improving the process than having something just related within a country that was not going to solve the real issue.
How did you deal with so many different countries and cultures and especially cultures?
Don't know. I think the miles, in IBM we have some contacts, but at the IT level, and with miles we had I think working with Miles, we as IBM, we will not wouldn't be able to have success because Miles they control the shipment and they know all the authorities and they have the contacts. We were helping Miles about the technology and also we have consultants with experience, but I think to have this network, we have really needed, not just Miles, also as I presented, we have different phases, and we also needed the input from the real participants in the network, because at the end, they are the ones that know the real issues they have in their day-to-day activities.
What about you, Pablo? Have you encountered more challenges also in the technical part than in others, or what's your case? What are your challenges? What happened in your
it's like Ana, the technology is there. It's true that it is still in a maturity level, no? So I think sometimes the biggest problem is to find the right technical people that understand the technology, because there isn't really a easy GUI interface. So you end up like having to develop in an environment that you require talented engineers that they know how to develop in these environments. So, but I think technology is much more mature now. In our case, the difficulty or the biggest challenge was to get all these different entities and banks to get together and start sharing their clients.
Did they want to share the
No.
No?
Not initially. No, because it's difficult. No, I mean,
So first you agreed to create this consortium, you worked tons of hours,
yeah.
and then
Everybody wants to
is
be
like,
consultants, everybody wants to be doing things in blockchain, but at the end of the day it's very difficult to find people that they want to put their data or their plans and share it. No?
wow.
I think this is the biggest issue that we
Are you
found.
facing now these issues? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
We've been having a lot of meetings and addressing this internally in each of the entities.
But you have some ideas,
but I think we've managed now to move to the next level, no?
Okay.
And especially in this second phase of where we're moving towards. We are finding that in the business SMEs space, this is in a space which is, I think easier to move forward.
Okay. And also the process.
Because the process is, it takes like, sometimes in some entities it takes like 20 days to open an account. So
Of a business,
no? So it takes, I think this is where blockchain can make a difference, and we believe that, there will be a big impact. In personal accounts, we managed to do onboarding in 6 minutes, without
it's
using.
not that key to have
Without using
direct-
blockchain, you see what I mean? So I think the use of the technology has to be for a reason, not because of the sake of. Okay, let's put blockchain and then think about the case, which is sometimes from a technology perspective, we put sometimes technology first, and we need to put the customers first.
But sometimes it's happy to learn, no?
True. I
Also,
think you need to
we
learn.
need to
You need to learn. You need to develop these use cases, especially with this type of technologies, which are in some cases immature, or
Right.
but you cannot forget why you are doing things, and I really like the example from my colleague from ISDI. They found the pain, and okay, let's find the solution. It could have been blockchain or it could have been something else, but I mean, at the end of the day, the pain is there, and the use of the technology gives you that level of solution that you need. I think this is where blockchain has a lot of value.
Cool. Daniel, what level of implication do you see in the companies that you're working in this kind of use cases with this technology?
In my opinion, it's really a regular. It really depends on the market you target. If you go to the banking industry, they're pretty much advanced, really advanced. They don't have to create networks. They really know how to, in this case, get really good analytics. So they're really specialized in different fields that they have really big network effects because they offer on two sides. They offer their business, their core business trust, totally, in the benefits from so many times. Other ones, they have such a big network. So, in fact, if you come from many fintechs that want to target the main core services from the main banks, it's so difficult for them. So they still have to use their platforms in order to reach that people or to gain that trust to the final customer. So, in banking, I think it's really really advanced. It's really advanced on the sustainable innovation level, not on the disruptive one. We have seen some projects like WeTrade in Spain that for me are really interesting right now, which you are doing with them as well, with IBM. So for me, one of the biggest one I have seen. I have not been involved in the project, but for me that was okay. Now this is new. If all the fields that I've seen also related to identity, related to big data analysis and so on, I don't really see clearly why to use blockchain in most of the use cases that are used right now. From really main difficult points I've seen, most of them, like from GDPR. Unfortunately, our legislation thinks that a hash of personal data is personal data. So, if we want to timestamp any sort of information for our retail customer, we just cannot do it, because we just cannot erase it. So we contradict the right to be forgiven. So most of the use cases that apply to the final retail customer, then swap. You can't do them. If you want to tokenize assets, we have many difficulties as well. We can use electronic money licenses that are nothing new. And we can use tokenization. But again, we have many difficulties on the regulatory side. We cannot use omnibus accounts. So at the end of the day, we have to make a copy of all this historical and everything we do from main banks and companies, hoping that in the future we will be able to do that in a digital way, or hoping that we are going to have stable coins maybe from the ECB in order to do that. An industry that has really impressed me how they are trying to really evolve in new markets right now is energy, because they of course have really good network effects. Because they are everywhere, right? The power of lives, our lives, like it or not. And one thing that we are doing lots of research, besides the things we are doing in production, is how can we take advantage of these network effects in order to create financial services. Identity has a lot to do with that. Mostly creating machine-to-machine communication channels and payment channels. So telecommunication companies have also a lot to do with that. Bank institutions have a lot to do with that, especially due to PSD2. If we go to telecommunications, I see that they're one of the industries that for me are most promising. If you go to trade finance, you need a telecom for most of the use cases. And we are now doing use cases and research in ways of how to do payments on disconnected offline environments in a trusted way. So that in a way that I can, for example, say I can pay for a charging point on a minor street stage on a parking. There is no connection at all. That's electricity. How can I do that in a secure way? So that are some things that we are doing. And also, one of the main things that I'm not seeing like anyone talking recently about, most of the communications are trying to face against WhatsApp and all of these big companies right now that are also trying to enter the payment section. And one really interesting standard they have built right now and is going to enter production this year is, I don't know if you know this, it's called a RCS, rich communication system. Basically, we have ways of transmitting almost around the top of 10 megabits of data without using the traditional internet. So there are ways of transferring tokenized assets without using financial institutions and without using traditional internet. Best use case, South America. More than half of the population is unbanked, right? What are we doing nowadays to build new infrastructure for them? There are already the public one that is already created. Most of them, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Most of the things are always created. We just have to take a better usage of the things that already exist.
I'm gonna cut you because because Rafa has to leave us. He has to take a train to.
I have to take the last train to Barcelona. Sorry, I can stay here with you. Sorry.
You want to mention in half a minute the challenges?
Yeah, sure. For us, the main challenge is that it's about usability. Blockchain is kind of tough for general and common people because it's something like a distributed database, and I cannot give my students a transaction ID. It's like, okay, there you have it, then check it. No? It will fail if I do that. So we need to generate a service layer, a kind of usability layer, so it's easy to access, it's easy to share everything. So as long as this is not a need that was asked from our customers, it's something that we thought it was a good idea. We need to be very, very careful with the usability itself, because if not, I know for sure it's not going to work. I need staff, and we need to communicate the benefits, because they are not obvious for the people. We know about blockchain, but people, they just heard the word, and how can I tell my students, my customers, this is a great idea that I had. So now your data belongs to you, and you don't need to rely on me. It's your data, it's there for forever. It's like, what are you telling to me?
I'm gonna guide you now.
Yeah. So that was, I'm gonna miss my train. So for me, it's usability itself, and people understand the benefits.
To the final user, to the customer.
I'm very sorry that actually I was. Thank you very much. It was
please go. You give the microphone to Lior. Yes, thanks, Rafa. We can sit, David, we can sit there in one place, so, yeah. So, Lior, okay, so we have here many different cases, like, how many people are you in IBM? 3,075,000. 375,000.
Not all of them are working in blockchain.
People. No, in the company. UST Global, you are 25,000. Liberbank, 4,000. And Cesar, they left. In ISDI, I think they were 80 people. Jelurida,
30 people.
And Skylar is a consultant. It's
Depending how you.
Okay, so we have a very variety of companies and sizes and challenges. So you work with companies that are looking for ways to solve these certain problems. Do you think the companies have the DLT level of readiness to apply the technology? What is your experience in Jelurida?
So in Jelurida, we actually have two pillars on which we are building the company. One, we are coming from the public blockchain, where our customers are actually all over the world. Whoever wants to install our software, buy token and use it for its own decentralized applications. So this is one type of customer which is very demanding by itself. Then the second pillar is to take this wonderful technologies that we have in the public blockchain that is already operational for more than 5 years and actually adapt it to organizations to create, let's call it private permission solutions. So just for example, last week we announced a partnership with Henkel in Germany about, we're starting small, looking for use cases with our innovation center and identifying it and building on top of it. You know, you always need to sell it to the management, see exactly who needs to cooperate in this blockchain and so on. Our intention is to create a win-win situation so that our public blockchain is like a showroom for the capabilities of our product, and the applications on the permissioned and private blockchain also brings us more business and credibility.
Interesting. Skylar, you work as a consultant. Capacity building. This is about helping people to understand this technology, right? So, did you see any crossover between the challenges that have been noted in these use cases and the challenges you run into when you are trying to educate basic audiences about this technology?
Yeah, I would say that there's one major one that I can point to off the bat, which would go hand in hand with what this whole week has been about with standardization. Because just to take it to a basic level, I mean, companies are assigning entire task forces to try and understand this stuff, to figure out where it can plug in, and how are individuals who might have relevant ideas or ways of helping contribute to the ecosystem supposed to begin to engage with this without those resources and without the ability to necessarily understand the technology. I mean, you try to approach any individual public network, and the terminology that's used for many of the same functions is completely new depending on the project. So instead of being able to go from, let's say, a Dell computer to an Apple and knowing they have the same memory and the same processor speeds and make some sort of comparison, you've got to go and relearn all of the terms you're even using in the first place, and then turn that over to a company who has a procurement department that needs to approve any spending proposals. And what is this comparison of these platforms supposed to look like internally for a company to be able to make an educated decision about which platform can even help them implement the use case they want to get to? So it's you know, there are certain projects who have done great work over the last few years, but then they kind of reach a stalemate at a certain point because there's some consideration as a first mover that may not have been factored in, and then where to kind of go from here and how to involve new players in that process, and still having a fair IP and all these different issues in contributing to the process later down the line. Yeah, these are all kind of different issues that prevent mainstream adoption, mainstream understanding from individuals and then up to the organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. So standardization, it's like we need to make some steps there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easier.
Yeah, so that we know how to compare things, how to refer to things, so that we can walk into. I shouldn't have to go to. I shouldn't have to be an evangelist of a specific blockchain community in order to go to one of their meetups and contribute to the discussion. You know, we should, if it's a technical discussion, there are technical problems, these are, business use cases. There should be some common level that we can all be speaking on, and that level hasn't quite existed in this field quite yet. So I see the work that's been done by the ITU as kind of one of the most pivotal kind of things that needs to be put in place in order for the industry to be able to progress in a way that's beneficial.
Right. So do you have any questions from the audience? Yes. Yes, please.
I have two questions, and I'll politely first. First, regarding the lens. In that case, the privacy problem has been easily solved based on channels, and every channel is assigned to an ocean driver. But in the case we were in some other scenario where it's not so easy to separate channels by participants, because there's a lot of participants, what are the new solutions in hyperledger fabric for solving that?
Yeah, in addition to channels, that it's for those of you that are not familiar with hyperledger and channels, a channel is like a private network between a small set of participants. But in hyperledger, the new since 1.3, that we are now in 1.4, we have also the possibility with the private data collections, to decide the data you want to share between the participants. So it's not just that you can select the transactions and which participants have to approve each transaction for each channel, but also the data in that channel.
You had another question?
Second question is regarding the neuron solution for Know Your Customer. And as mentioned, there is a collision with GDPR regarding private and personal data. Has been solved in that case. Personal data has been kept off-chain, and then on the blockchain is only reference, or how has it been solved in that case?
Well, in our case, the way to solve it is by asking permission to the clients. Is the way to solve it. Yes. So basically, what we propose is that the entities will need to ask permission to customers to be able to. Yes. So this is why we thought the best way to solve this problem was that when the customers on board in the bank, at that time you ask them to also share their data within the network. Yes, it's the only way.
Well, and finally, the humble request is for Lior.
Lior?
Lior, sorry. I know about Ardor in a meetup in Google Camp here in Madrid. But it's been a long time since we haven't seen another meetup, and I would like to ask if it would be possible to have more frequent webinars or meetups regarding Ardor, because I think it's a really interesting technology, and this is something we would like to understand and see what is the field of appliance.
Definitely, we have a team in Spain. We currently have 4 employees in Spain. So definitely we can do more events, or even one-to-one. I'm not sure what's your business, but it's possible.
Tomorrow there is one.
Tomorrow?
Yes.
Where?
For smart contracts. In the eDreams headquarters in Madrid.
Tomorrow
at 7 p.m.
Lior is going to do a keynote.
Lior is explaining the smart contracts.
Java community developers of Madrid.
I haven't seen it. Is it a meetup group?
Yeah, it's a meetup.
Yeah.
It's the Java meetup group Madrid.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Thank you.
We can post it in the, Alberto, we can post it maybe in the comments of the meetup of today, and then you all have the link. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah.
Two comments. One comment is, you said you just ask for consent. What do you do when the consent is withdrawn and you have got the data on the blockchain?
You need to give the customers the ability. This is something that we're working on because with PSD2, you need to give the clients the ability not only to the consent, okay, but also to the reverse. So I don't no longer want to share my data, because at the end of the day, the owner of the data is the customer. So you have to work in those two processes.
Well, it's also a GDPR.
Yes, it's GDPR compliant as well.
Consent, and there's no real ownership, but they have, of course, the right to protection of
to unsubscribe. No?
And concerning your comment concerning hashing. There is a vivid discussion about hashes, and my opinion is that It depends how you use them. And there are, of course, ways when you use hashes and it's people are still identifiable and it's perfectly personal data and you cannot put them on the blockchain. But in my opinion, there are also ways you can do it. But there's legal uncertainty about this issue. There's a lot of discussion going on. But I think it depends what kind of data you put together with the hash on the blockchain, on the context you have.
Well, what I see is that most of the data analysis solutions built on top of blockchain are 99% big data solutions. So it's nothing new. I think there is an issue if you cannot revoke the access to hash information that you cannot erase. At least that's an issue we have in some banks trying to build services like products like this. Another issue I find is that when you really want to guarantee privacy of data, it's really difficult if you use traditional systems to therefore analyze it. So you really lose, unless you use computations on the system, really most of the capabilities you have on your analytics and your ways on how to develop new products. And mostly the thing is, how are we solving this? We are doing this with some ventures, also with some gaps. They already have traditional systems that they work. They have a sort of SSI systems without using blockchain. But we saw that there was a point on testing it on how to use time stamping, mostly, that's also not new, on some fields, which is when you write information, when you access the information, or when you change it. So it's interesting to give a trackability of that for audits. But I believe, and I hope I'm wrong, that we cannot use that already for the retail customer, but just for the big ones.
Well, concerning timestamping, I'm pretty confident that you can do it because there you don't put additional data in context with the hash. But other uses where you just try to anonymize data and replace identifiers the hashes usually doesn't work. So it really depends on the context. And at the University of Geneva, we did a project where we certified diplomas with hashes on a public blockchain. And the interesting part is we are also capable of revoking a diploma. And we add, of course, we don't delete anything, but we add another entry. And of course, this entry renders the first entry personal data, because then you get additional information out of it. And but then you need a justification, and the justification is that people that are able to see, that have the original diploma, they should be able to see that it has been revoked. So there is a good justification. And if you have this kind of justification, it works. If you don't have this kind of justification, you're in trouble, of course.
For me, as far as I could see, with the two main banks in Spain about this, we were trying to create common channels between both banks in order to have common ways to share that information, in order to create analytics, something like that. To create an automatic page for startups, fintechs, and so on. And both they did consultings to the main regulators, and they said a hash of personal data is personal data. For me, I totally agree with you. It makes no point, because you cannot use the information. So, but that's how it works, and at least that's the software we have.
Well, there is this Article 29 Group 2014 opinion, but who's more or less says this. If you look in detail, it doesn't totally say that. And then you need to reflect the context. It was the context of anonymization, and it was not the context of timestamping. So I'm confident that there will be different opinions out there, but I agree it's legal uncertainty.
I would love to have a discussion with you later.
Very exciting discussion.
I want to help here and challenge after that. May I?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. First of all, my colleague is very keen as you see, but you need to review Alastria use case because it's filling the template, and Liberbank is member. I'm a member as well, as you know, so that's why probably the solution about this revocation hash and where is stored on the blockchain. In our template, we have these details, and it's based on the Alastria, as he mentioned. And I want to challenge. First of all, I want to invite all of you to submit our template to ITU and help us with the use cases. Okay. I want to challenge because she asked all of your use cases about the challenges, and none of you mentioned the human malevolence or the human error, and for me, it's the big issue. So what do you think about that?
Very good question. So, Ana, you want to start?
Dr. Klaus,
You are all invited to answer.
Well, I think there is a lot of work to do in this area, for sure. There are many innovative solutions, from hardware wallets to all kind of secret sharing schemas, and we are improving a lot, but there is still a lot of work to do.
You have something here? Yeah?
Yeah, I agree with you that it's a big challenge, and we have many customers asking about this. Each use case is different because, for example, I think there is a big relationship between IoT and blockchain that will help to enforce the data you enter into the blockchain. But not everything can be sensorized because it's a cost and it's a risk. We are working with different technologies, with crypto anchors, to try to ensure the information you have in the network is the right one. But it's not always possible.
Pablo, you want to add something?
In the first one, of course, we will collaborate with you because I think this is the only way to learn. And so sharing the experience will obviously help us as well to develop a better use case. So for sure. Okay. On the second, I think we've been. In my case, I've been in banking for 20 plus years.
I take like that, the video.
Right.
And this is face, not my face.
Sure. I think this is something that we are always exposed. No matter the technology. No? With new technologies, you fix some of the issues, but you face new challenges. I think we're going to see right now, we see right now the benefits, no?
Yeah.
And more than the challenges, of course. It's going to take time, but who will break the blockchain?
Yes, I want to address the last thing is that we also have experienced that in blockchain, the data you enter in blockchain has more visibility. So participants are more careful about the data and the quality of the data they enter into the blockchain. It's a warning that the data is going to, but there is always the possibility to have the wrong face.
Many people think that what is in blockchain is true. And it's not true.
No, you don't have the information cannot be changed, but the information cannot be the right one from the end user.
Thank you, and submit your use cases, please.
Yeah.
Skylar wanted to add something as well?
Yeah, and at first I didn't have too much to say, but just thinking about it a second more, I think earlier kind of touched on it, which was the user interface issue. And I think a lot of this mistaken entry, this type of thing. I mean, the fact of the matter is right now you're kind of submitting things pretty much straight through the blockchain. There isn't really an application or interfacing between us and the blockchain. And I think what we're just going to have to see is this kind of separation of the end user from directly writing to the blockchain. So there is this, period maybe for making the necessary updates before it's written, or submitting these in batches like these diplomas mentioned just a few minutes ago. So I don't see it as the perfect fix for everything, but I think that when it comes down to it, the technology itself is prone to it, and the only way is to mitigate it through making it as difficult as possible to make the mistake up front.
I wanted also to answer you, because I think it's a really good question. And if we go to the very roots of the technology itself, the main one things it's targeting for is to solve cyber attacks, most of it, and also Byzantine fault tolerance. So intrinsically, you create networks, and the reason for that is that you can get people that want to target the network, and you don't need to trust them, right? So all the complexity of the standards is how can you make sure that still nothing happens to you, or still there is something at stake, right? For me, one of the most interesting things is if when you create a sort of not really private consortium, or the most sort of private kind of network, is how can what happens when people risk their reputation? Because there's some really good experiments have been done in that field, and I believe they're really, really interesting. And also to say.
There's another question here.
Thank you very much. Personally, I come from China. I'm very interested to learn about the current status of the blockchain adoption in Madrid, in Spain, and Europe. But in this time I come here because I'm the chairman of the ITUT Fox group on DLT. So my question is here, I want to know which kind of standardization work, which kind of standard is on your highest priority you want to have. Since all of you have some challenges when you want to use blockchain in production. So I think standardization work should be help for you, but I want to know very specifically what kind of standard you want to make in your very urgent demand. Yeah. So it will be very helpful for us to look forward. I think already Skylar already mentioned that customer want to compare different solutions. I think we are working on that. Except that, which kind of standard do you want? Yeah, I want to know for the panelists. Yeah, thank you.
One of if you look at the public blockchains, a huge area for standardizations are the crypto exchanges. That's the entry channels between fiat and crypto. There are many exchanges. Each one has its own interface, its own APIs. And they all do the same thing, essentially, which is exchange one token to another. Then there's the issue of onboarding users. The creation of a new account is typically completely different between one blockchain product and the other. And again, there is absolutely no reason not to standardize this process, and it will also help immensely for the adoption of the technology.
So, to be honest with you, I think we haven't really even thought about the standards at this stage as a holistic way, right? I think we are, in a way, in the early days of the internet, when the internet started. So there wasn't really any standards at that time. I think we are in that scenario. Just to think backwards, and to get a common background. No? I think we are in the same stage. We haven't really thought, about standardization because it's not mature enough. I think right now, at least in Spain, for example, in Alastria and consortiums like this, we are starting to try to think about having a common use of technologies and develop some levels of common grounds. I wouldn't even call them standards. I think standards is more complex. But that's my personal opinion.
Ana?
Yeah. Regarding standardization, I think that for a use case, the input data format is going to be quite different because each sector, they have specific standards. One thing, I think the future is going to be a network of networks, and we will have interaction between public and private networks. And in fact, there are some projects integrating Ethereum and Hyperledger. So I think that something, don't know exactly why and how, that will help to interact networks with different technology, will help to expand the ecosystem. Because at the end it will be a network of networks.
Okay, we hope that this is a little bit helpful. Daniel? Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to say that before I was mute because I really don't know what to say. I know the guidelines on how everything is evolving, but when we talk about the standards, I think we take really high risks of getting things wrong. Or let's say a really simple example. If we want to set up an example of a standard of tokenization, the market has chosen ERC 20s, right, or ERC 721s, and so on. But what happens when we want to use that on Hyperledger Fabric? It doesn't work. Other coding languages, other standards defined by the network, so we need to start building connectors. So then we are going to standardize the connector or the network itself. And we are going to standardize the nature of the asset. So for me, it's a really wide topic that I still have no idea about, if I'm talking. But I would love to talk about that.
We have another question here. Yeah, Pablo, you have to go?
I have to leave, sorry.
Okay, okay. Please, thanks Pablo for being here. It's a personal matter to attend. So we have another question here.
This question is for Ana. I'm glad that you brought up the fact that immutable doesn't necessarily mean correct or accurate. What is your approach to verifying accuracy and precision for data that's being written to your blockchain before it is made immutable?
One thing that will help you to have more real data or to be more secure or to have more secure data is the source of the data. So if you know the participants and you have agree on the participants you are going to have in the network, you will have a risk, but the risk is controlled because you know the participants. That's a way to control the data. The IoT, if you can automate the way the data is entered into the network, will help you a lot to ensure that the data you have in the network is the right one. And also, depending on the use case, validations you can have before entering the data and executing the smart contracts. And depending on the use case, you will have different validations.
Okay, we have another question here.
Yeah, I've got another question. Maybe it's a bit of a personal question, opinion, because I don't think nobody has the answer. But regarding the public blockchains, I'm talking about standards. I mean, Ethereum more or less became the semi-standard for smart contracts. It was the best one at the time, and probably currently is the one that has more projects developed on it because it's been there for long. Now that EOS is out, solves a lot of issues of Ethereum. Some even say it's going to substitute Ethereum, and a lot of projects, some are moving to EOS and starting EOS and abandoning Ethereum. Do you think that this will end up a bit like, I mean, the internet was not the first network, it was the one that won. Do you think that eventually we'll have one public blockchain, which others, the private ones, the federation ones, can connect to it and use it, but as a public one, we'll end up having the one, which might not be EOS, might be another one that doesn't even exist now, but, or do you think that no, we will have 6 or 7 public blockchains completely parallel to each other, like we have with cryptocurrencies, that they live together?
I would say that, first of all, we are surely going to see consolidation in the public blockchain. It doesn't make sense to have 5,000 chains. Okay. Of course, I want to believe that when the consolidation happens, our solution will be one of the surviving ones. I believe that there is a place for several dozens chains because there is still a lot of variation between. Let's not only talk about blockchain or DLT in general. There are DAGs and 10 other ideas that are floating around. It will take a lot of time until the selection process will actually determine which ones are better.
I think I'm a little different in how I view that, in the sense that I do see the consolidation for sure as something that is a long-term kind of inevitable trend. I'm more of the belief that we'll be down to one, if not just maybe 2 or 3. You know, we're not, I have a hard time understanding what the real utility of having dozens of these different networks would really lead to, or to what end it all kind of leads. So until there are more use cases, though, I don't think it's kind of a shot in the dark.
I will be very simple. At first, I don't know. Second, I don't care. I'd like to explain why. And one of the things I'm following most related to open blockchains right now, actually things which are Cosmos and local network, which for me, I'd really like to think about layers, right? Abstraction layers. So first of all, it's a protocol, right? And second, mostly is when you start doing applications. And third of all is when you start doing services. And for me, the most important thing is when you start caring about the network you're operating with. And I don't know if that's going to happen with connectors, with any sort of different. Other side, and this is something where I put my money with my mouth is, which is something that I think is really important. Right now, I think that the high chances are for the network with the biggest network effect and with the highest resiliency. I really like the concept of Ethereum, but there are some things I don't really like about. First of all, do you know the number of full nodes that there are in the network? 12 nodes. 12 full nodes. Can we really talk about Ethereum as a really decentralized network? And we have this problem issue also with Bitcoin, which is where I'm most invested at. Also, if you think about the mining, it's almost centralized with 3 main companies in China. So
actually, that's not true anymore.
No.
It's sort of
there was a new that came up, and it's spread out substantially. In the last year, it's actually disseminated to a point where that's.
What is the company? If you go to the ownership of those companies, what you're going to find is
it's not all in China anymore.
What I saw. Let me explain. What I'm talking is about the ownership of the companies. I lived in Sweden for a year. It was one of the coolest places, and I saw incredible huge investments going in there by really big Chinese investor firms. Most of them that have, some of them, their funds in Singapore. But they are investing in Europe. But the people that are behind the governance is Chinese. That is at least my conclusion, and we will continue to talk about it.
Higher.
I'm not at that be.
Okay. Any more questions? I have a question. Because today is a very particular day because we have corporate guests and we have people from the ITU working on standardization. So my question is, and it's a question for everyone, so I will pass the micro and for you as well. What comes first? Use cases in the companies that help learn how to use this technology, like they are saying, they are stating that they need to start working on use cases to learn how it works, what challenges they have, or the standardization. So what's first?
My opinion would be definitely use cases, for the same reason that we've moved away from waterfall towards Agile. Why standardize when you have the least possible information about something? Go out, do it 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, and then decide what the winner is afterwards.
Anyone else?
I think both, and my suggestion is that before starting a use case, you need to know if blockchain is the solution. That's important, that blockchain is something that everyone is talking about, but it cannot be the right technology for all the use cases. So that's something, independently of if it's private, public, you need to know if blockchain is the right technology or not. If you need blockchain for the use case.
Here?
Yeah, well, I totally agree with your statement that the first is the use cases, and it's also a new paradigm of how we have to develop. Because, for instance, to my friends from my community, they are developing some verticals, and it started in the user in the front. So then we have to develop the other part of the solution. So right now, as we don't have standards enough and we don't have these subjects where we can see how to do things, we are facing this issue. I don't know if the members of the panelists, they agree with me that the way of developing blockchain, it's right now how to develop a blockchain solution, how to integrate. It's quite challenging because it's not like we are connected to a database. We have to solve many issues before. We see that mostly, I don't know if you share also this, my opinion, but we are developing a lot of hybrid solutions where we will have off-chain data that can be validated in the on-chain, on the blockchain. So I don't know if you agree with me.
I was not necessarily going to go directly on that, and I think you have a fair point. It's definitely applicable. I was actually going to say that I thought there might be a third option here, which was that there's the level of use cases, there's the level of standardization, but then kind of even from before any of that, there's just, I think, a really major lack of education around what blockchain is even capable of in the first place. I still think it's a lot better than it was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago in particular, where companies are just adding a word to their name and stocks are going up. But I still think just if you go and you ask, not your friends you've been talking to the last 5 years and driving them crazy about this, but you go and find some fresh minds and try and talk to them about this stuff, nobody really knows what any of this is yet, and I think that there's going to continue to be use cases and there's going to continue to be attempts at standardization, but just like any new industry, there's going to be all these focused efforts, and then there's going to be some disruptive concept that comes out of nowhere that nobody was expecting, and that's going to drive really the process at that point. And the only way we get that disruptive idea found in all the chaos is to ensure people understand what the potential is, and then they can apply it.
That's a very interesting thing because you mentioned education. as well, and probably we need some standards in education, and we don't have it either, right? But many universities...
To an extent, I mean, it can be done in a research, manner, but even if you just look at universities and how many of them are standardizing programs, you see, in 2017, all these random 3-week certificate programs, and all of these kind of half-baked attempts at educating people really about the technology and getting you to think about it for yourself, and to follow the technology because it's evolving very quickly. So if you took a course 2 years ago and you look at where the cryptography discussion is now, it's evolved very fast. And so I think that there's this sort of false impression that because maybe you read about blockchain in 2017, that you still understand what blockchain is in 2019. And unfortunately, I think there's a bit of a gap there in displaying what has evolved.
Okay, maybe we can finish here. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming, and thanks for your participation as well. Thank you.